The general had survived ambushes in deserts, freezing nights in the mountains, and decisions that cost lives, but nothing prepared him for the moment his heart seemed to stop in a quiet hospital room. The machines hummed softly, the air smelled of antiseptic and rain-soaked concrete from outside, and as the door opened to reveal the hospital's top surgeon, his body went rigid, his breath caught, and the metals on his chest felt suddenly heavier than any battlefield armor he had ever worn. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unseen threads that connect our lives in the most unexpected ways, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts across the world. General Robert Hale had been a legend long before age and illness found him. His name had been spoken with respect in briefing rooms and whispered with fear by enemies who never saw him coming. Decades of service had carved deep lines into his face, and the rigid discipline of military life had shaped his posture even now as he lay in a hospital bed, weakened by a failing heart that no amount of bravery could command back into strength. When the doctors told him his condition was critical and that only the hospital's top surgeon could perform the operation that might save him, he had agreed without hesitation. He trusted systems, ranks, and excellence. He did not expect fate to have a memory. The surgeon who walked into the room was Dr. Evelyn Carter, a woman known across the medical world for her steady hands and unshakable focus. She had trained in the best institutions, worked impossible hours, and built her reputation on saving lives that others had already given up on. Her white coat carried the weight of countless nights without sleep and countless families waiting for miracles. But beneath that coat was a past she had spent years trying to outrun, a past that had taught her how cruel power could be and how expensive silence was. Years earlier, Evelyn had been a young woman with dreams far simpler than saving the lives of generals. She had grown up in a small town where patriotism hung on every wall and the military was spoken of with pride. Her father, Daniel Carter, had served under General Hale's command during a classified overseas operation that went wrong. Official reports called it a strategic necessity. The folded flag and the quiet knock on their door told a different story. Evelyn had watched her mother crumble, watched bills pile up, watched truth dissolve into classified silence. When she tried to ask questions, doors closed. When she tried to speak, she was told to be proud and grateful. That was the moment something hardened inside her, something that would later fuel her relentless pursuit of medicine, a field where lives were saved, not buried under paperwork. As Dr. Evelyn Carter stood at the foot of the general's bed, her mind raced back through years she had sworn never to revisit. The face before her was older, paler, stripped of its commanding presence by illness, but unmistakable. This was the man whose signature had authorized the mission that never let her father come home. This was the man who had never answered a single letter. This was the man who now needed her skill to live. The hospital room became a battlefield of a different kind. Professional duty collided with buried grief. Every oath she had taken as a doctor demanded she give him everything she had. Every memory of her father's empty chair at the dinner table demanded something else entirely. She had built her life on control and precision, but in that moment, control felt like a fragile illusion. The nurses sensed the tension, the air thick with something unspoken, but no one dared interrupt. The general noticed it too, not knowing why, only feeling the sudden chill that ran through him as her eyes met his. General Hale had faced death before, but lying there, he felt exposed in a way no battlefield had ever made him feel. He saw not a surgeon, but a woman carrying a storm behind calm eyes. He sensed, with a veteran's intuition, that this was not a routine meeting. Somewhere deep inside, memories stirred, memories of reports signed late at night, of names reduced to numbers, of choices made under pressure and then sealed away. He had told himself for years that he had done what was necessary. He had told himself that responsibility was shared, that regret was weakness. But as he looked at Dr. Carter, something in those old justifications began to crack. The days leading up to the surgery were heavy with unspoken truths. Evelyn reviewed his charts with obsessive focus, her hands steady even when her heart wasn't. She pushed herself harder than ever, sleeping in the on-call room, rechecking every scan, every test, every risk factor. Colleagues noticed her intensity but attributed it to the importance of the patient. No one knew she was also fighting ghosts, replaying memories of her father teaching her how to ride a bike, of her mother waiting by the phone for a call that never came. Saving General Hale would not bring her father back, but letting him die felt like crossing a line she had sworn never to cross. General Hale, confined to his bed, had nothing to do but think. He watched the staff move around him with efficiency and kindness, and for the first time in years, he felt small. Power meant nothing here. Rank meant nothing. His life rested entirely in the hands of a woman he barely knew, yet somehow felt he had wronged long ago. The realization unsettled him more than the prospect of surgery. He began to understand that leadership did not end with orders given, and that consequences did not fade just because time passed. The night before the operation, a storm rolled in, rain streaking down the windows like tears the building itself could not hold back. Evelyn stood alone in a quiet hallway, staring at the city lights below, questioning every choice that had led her here. She thought of quitting, of asking another surgeon to take over, of escaping the weight pressing on her chest. But she also thought of the kind of doctor she wanted to be, the kind of human being her father had raised her to become. In the end, she chose to stay, not for the general, but for herself. The surgery was long and grueling, stretching hours into something that felt like eternity. Inside the operating room, time lost its meaning as Evelyn guided her team through the delicate procedure. Her hands moved with precision born of years of training and a lifetime of pain transformed into purpose. There was no room for hesitation, no space for resentment. There was only a human heart, failing but not yet defeated, and a surgeon determined to give it a chance. When the operation finally ended, exhaustion washed over her like a tide. The general was alive, his condition stable, his future uncertain but possible. As Evelyn stepped away, removing her gloves, she felt a release she hadn't known she needed. She had faced the past and chosen compassion over bitterness, integrity over revenge. It did not erase her pain, but it reshaped it into something she could live with. Recovery was slow. General Hale drifted in and out of consciousness, his body healing inch by inch. When he was finally strong enough to understand where he was and what had happened, he asked to see Dr. Carter again. The meeting was quieter this time, stripped of tension, heavy with recognition. He had learned who she was, had read her name, had connected it to a file he had not opened in years. The weight of it settled on him with crushing clarity. In the days that followed, General Hale began a journey of his own. He requested reviews of old operations, pushed for transparency, and reached out to families who had been left with nothing but unanswered questions. It did not undo the past, but it cracked open a door that had been sealed for too long. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel regret not as weakness, but as responsibility finally acknowledged. Evelyn watched these changes from a distance, not seeking closure, but finding something close to peace. She returned to her work with renewed purpose, carrying with her the knowledge that healing was not limited to operating rooms. Sometimes, it began when people faced the consequences of their actions and chose to do better, even late in life. As the general was eventually discharged, walking slowly but steadily, the hospital corridors seemed different, lighter somehow. Two lives had intersected again under circumstances neither could have predicted, and both had been changed. One had learned that survival carried obligations beyond the battlefield. The other had learned that forgiveness was not forgetting, but choosing not to let the past define the future. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about the power of compassion, accountability, and the quiet strength it takes to do the right thing when it hurts the most, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and engage with the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and reaching those who need them. Before the ending, please comment below what this story made you feel and whether you believe true forgiveness can change both the giver and the receiver. The general left the hospital not just with a repaired heart, but with a transformed understanding of what it meant to lead and to live. And Dr. Evelyn Carter continued